There are 3 genders, 4 genders, even 5.
Basically, it's not correct that there is such a thing as biological sex, and
I've started the hashtag 76 genders, even though there are probably more like millions of gender.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more!
The question of gender is one of the newest social and political debates. There's a lot of confusion about sex, gender, and transgenderism. This discussion was sparked by new claims about gender and the rise of transgenderism as a topic of debate. The two biggest terms we need to understand are sex and gender. Biological sex is defined by the features that make people perform one sex role or the other, and the physical characteristics that are linked to that. The chromosomes in your cells create the structures that allow people to perform those sex roles, so they're used to determine what sex you are. So men have an XY chromosome, higher testosterone, and a penis. Sometimes birth defects can alter people's sex characteristics, such as having different genitals like those who have internal testes. Ultimately, all other factors come from the genes within the chromosome, so sex can be defined by genetic combination. There are examples of birth defects causing abnormal chromosomal makeup, such as having an XXY or an XYY, but those are incredibly rare, about 0.1% of people, and those people tend to act male or female in every other respect, not really showing unique gender characteristics. They don't perform a unique sex role, so they're not a new sex. The thing is, people with these defects affecting their sex characteristics are not the focus of the debate over gender. Gender is the behavioral, cultural, and psychological traits linked to each sex. So there are 2 genders because there are only 2 sexes. Gender makes up many characteristics, and in many ways it's quite vague. While gender characteristics all come from biological factors, some are very loosely linked. Traits such as greater risk-taking in men can easily be linked to men's biological sex characteristics, mainly their higher testosterone, but some gender traits are more loosely connected to a person's sex and more socially enforced than biologically. It's hard to find a strong link between female biology and liking floral patterns, but is considered a more female trait. Gender is essentially the idea that because men and women are built differently, they're going to act differently. This is where it gets confusing. What if a person has the biological characteristics of a man, but the behavioral, cultural, and psychological traits associated with women? This is what transgenderism is. They do not have the gender characteristics considered to be linked with their biological sex. One of the most popular theories used by many transgender activists is that transgender people have brains physically similar to that of the opposite sex, causing them to exhibit gender traits of the opposite sex. Many transgender people wish to match their biological sex characteristics to the sex linked to the gender norms they follow. This is usually done using hormones and surgery. They can never fully transition as their chromosomes are locked, but in some cases they can pass entirely unnoticed by society. Is gender a social construct? Yes and no. It isn't an arbitrary thing created by society, but some gender traits are more socially enforced than they are biologically enforced. Are there 52 genders? No, there are only 2 genders because there are only 2 sexes.